Hey guys, I think we're live, aren't we?
Hello, guys.
Yes. Hi.
Hey, so I think I'll kick it off, right? So welcome to our live stream, guys. We want to try something different this month instead of our normal Discord AMA. So we want to try something live where we could interact with the users and token holders through the chat on both YouTube and Twitter through Periscope. And before we start taking live questions and so forth, we did pick out the 10 best questions we found on Twitter before this. So Simona tweeted out something yesterday. People could pre-submit things they were curious about, and we picked 10 really good ones. But before we start, Simone, Jacob, do you have anything to say?
Just hello, everybody. Go here.
Hello, welcome to Fantom.
Someone's pressing weird buttons? Okay, that's you, Simone. Okay.
That was me. Yes.
Yeah, I think welcoming everyone is a good step as well. Well, not to waste any time. Shall we just get immediately into the questions? Because I think that's what people are here for.
Yes, sounds good.
So the first question we found was about what is the team doing and planning to support validator nodes and encourage growth of further nodes, right? Because as we've seen in the past few months, I think most of the big validator nodes were established in the first few weeks of the network launching, right? Like Node 21, Hyperblocks, Connors nodes, Go Fantom, and so forth. What can we do to further decentralize, have more nodes in there, and have a more fair distribution of delegations among those nodes? What can the foundation do to help here? Who wants to take this one first?
I guess I'll go because we are also running a validator node. I think one of the things that we have discussed quite a lot was how to actually make it easier for new delegators to join. That means how to share our experience with running a validator node and be able to maybe bring also some monitoring software for the new delegators. So I think there's a lot that can be done from like just an experience standpoint. And I think that's where we're definitely going to start with that.
Okay, fantastic. And Simone, I think it would be good for you to chime in here as well, because you're a part of Node 21.
Yeah, definitely. So this is something that we talked about internally quite a bit. And my personal, again, this is very personal point of view. And I'm very looking forward to the introduction of governance, because with governance, people can vote and can decide on proposals. And one of these would be, in my opinion, also to possibly lower the requirements for a validator node. Because as we saw, as the token appreciates, it becomes very prohibitive for new players to enter the validator node system. So that would be something to definitely consider on my side. And besides that, I think it's all of it. It's really in the hands of the validators. So we're all working for the same network, of course. But we saw that validators that are more active and more present within the community and offer some sort of engagement, they get more delegators. So it's a sort of a combination of things.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting look on things. I also spoke to another community member, right? And we spoke about the maximum amount of delegation, right? Because right now, the maximum amount of delegation that you can receive is 15 times the amount that you have staked principally, right? And what we see often is that, well, even when validators hit that limit, I think Go Fantom, Jacob, your node is closest to that. The node still sticks around because I think bigger nodes like that and people who invest a lot of time and money into developing this ecosystem do it for more than money, right? It's also about passion, right? So in a way, I think if we're going to talk about lowering validator requirements, we might actually compromise network security, right? If you have like small timers creating nodes and taking all this responsibility while not necessarily having the right amount of DevOps experience in-house. Whereas, when you lower the maximum amount of delegation, people are forced to go away from these bigger nodes, right? So any thoughts on that?
I have a topic that is maybe close to it, but there's quite an interesting dynamic is going on right now with the locking of the delegations, where all the validators were able to lock for about 1 year, but that lock time is pretty much like decreasing over time. And we were talking about the fact that this might be an interesting time for smaller validators to eventually join in, because they will be able to lock for full 1 year and create an extra motivation for delegators to come to their nodes, because they will be offering a better reward than we are right now, or than the nodes that are already in the network. So the cool motivation for new nodes to join. And I just wanted to say it's really something that we are working hard on to get more nodes on. And the 33 or 34 nodes that we have right now is far from what Fantom can actually handle from a technical standpoint. So it would be great to be able to prove it in real terms.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's a really valuable insight there. Well, before we move on to question 2, I think there's one more thing that a lot of people are discussing as well. I think the Hyperblocks guys addressed it earlier this year, right? About foundation involvement with stakers and delegators and so forth, right? Because what happens, right? Like with, for example, the Interchain Foundation with Cosmos Atom, Tezos, Polkadot. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Sometimes when the foundations have a lot of tokens, in which case the Fantom Foundation holds, well, significantly less Fantom than Polkadot holds DOT, or the Interchain Foundation holds Atom, but they stake their own native asset and delegate it to some of the smaller validators to get them up and running so they can cover operating expenses. What's your take on this?
Well, absolutely. I think some type of redistribution of the current, let's say, delegations would be good. And I think the stronger nodes should eventually support the new nodes, because everybody wins in the long term in the end. If we have more nodes and the nodes are more reliable or knowledgeable or trustworthy.
Awesome. Simone, you want to add anything to that, or shall we just go to question 2?
No, I think we can just go to the next one. And I think a combination of everything that we said is going to be the sort of the winning solution.
Somewhere in the middle, yeah. So question 2 is about Keeper. And I think I would be good to answer this question, because someone asked, will Keeper be part of the Fantom ecosystem? And if so, will it be included into the PWA wallet or as a standalone dApp, right? So I think, first of all, we have to define what Keeper is, because I don't think everyone knows what it does, right? But if you look at Keeper on Ethereum, right, you have to see it as a decentralized bot network, really, right? So whereas a lot of new protocols were launched recently that are getting increasingly decentralized compared to the dApps from 2 years ago, we're seeing a lot of problems with decentralized DevOps, right? For example, with Yearn, you have the vaults, which is one of their profitable solutions, right? Where they deploy certain strategies to create yield for the user or for the depositor. But there's still a part in that has to be done manually. So even though governance is decentralized, even though governance has chosen a team that's developing Yearn, some of the things are still done in centralized fashion, such as the harvest function on the vault contract. So I think one of the Yearn core devs, correct me if I'm wrong, has to actually activate the harvest function themselves, right? And with a decentralized protocol like Keeper, we can now decentralize that part, right? For example, you could put up a job, and somebody, a keeper in the network, could then take that job and get an incentive for it. And, well, then there's the question, will Keeper be part of the Fantom ecosystem? No, well, I guess Keeper's already deployed on ETH, and it's working perfectly good for Aave and Yearn and so forth. but there's no way for us to use a protocol that's on Ethereum right now, right? So we would have to fork it to Fantom. So then the question would be, can we fork Keeper on Opera? And should we? And do we want to, right? And I think, yeah, there's a couple use cases to be had, right? For example, Jakub and I, we were talking the other day about Uniswap, right? And Funiswap, right? So for example, on Funiswap, it could be, right, that there's a price discrepancy between, for example, Binance and Funi. And what you could do, for example, is you could set up a watchdog service, which essentially pushes that price back to a similar level as Binance, essentially arbing it. But if we were to do that centrally, right, that would just essentially be market making. And I don't think that would work perfectly fine. And I think then it becomes a little bit foundation reliant. So a use case could be to set up a keeper job, for example, and ask someone else to arbit or someone else to ping that watchdog service to see if there's a price discrepancy and to then draw it into accordance with the Binance rates. Jakub, I think you have something to add there, also about the implementation of Keeper and how much it would actually take to fork onto Opera.
Yeah, as far as Keeper goes, I just think it's an amazing idea, and its main value will only come in the future month, even on the ETH side. And I think we should definitely add it to our ecosystem, because in the past, when we were building oracles or some other services, it's just that the smart contracts don't do anything on their own. You always have to call them from the outside. And so that's why you sometimes need those centralized watchdog services that basically trigger some action on the smart contract. And that's not decentralized, while the Keeper solves this very elegantly. And I think we will definitely bring it in, just like other pieces of the ecosystem that is built on the ETH side around Keeper. So, and if the question is how difficult it is, it's very simple. Porting something that was already working on Ethereum, ported to Opera is super simple task. So it's rather like the operations are around it and arranging everything, but just the actual deployment of the contracts is simple, because it's the same type of chains, same virtual machine. So yeah, very much looking forward to bring Keeper on Opera and all the other pieces around it.
Cool. Also, I think in the chat people are asking a couple of questions about bridges. So I think we finished this Keeper topic for now. And I'm going to skip question 3, 4, because I want to go straight to question 5 first, because a lot of people want to know about that. And question 5 was about any word on the Rent bridge or other bridges in general. And question 6 actually was about, will the new bridge be able to migrate custom ERC20s deployed to Opera? So I guess we can kind of combine these questions into one, right? And discuss a couple ideas we were having, right? Because obviously right now we're working with the AnySwap guys to integrate their bridge. We're waiting for Ren with their multi-chain VM, but we're also looking to refactor our own bridge. And I think you and Jiri have been doing a lot of research there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the bridge question is probably the most interesting at this moment, because the bridge is the biggest missing piece for Fantom Finance to actually like start working properly and to be able to bring assets over from other chains to Opera and start like trading, working with them. So the bridges are an interesting topic. And I think we agreed on the fact that it's pretty good to be decentralized even on the bridge level. So having multiple bridges makes a lot of sense. So we can have REN, we can have AnySwap, but we also want to make sure that we have our own bridge the way we would like it to be decentralized and fully integrated. So that's one of the big topics that we've been working on with our team. And I think we've got pretty cool solution on the table right now. It's going through some review process, and maybe next week, if everything goes well, we'll start working on it. So very exciting stuff as far as the bridge is concerned.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's an interesting debate as well, right? Because obviously using multiple bridges is fine. I mean, from a technical point of view, that's perfectly possible. But my worry is always like on a UX level, right? Because, for example, any swap, they are porting over, I think, any USDT and any DAI and any BTC. And I think obviously REN being famous bridge it is, they're going to do REN BTC as well and a couple other assets. To, start seeing like, how many assets do we need? Which bridge do you want to use for which asset? And if you're going to have a lot of overlap, like where multiple bridges are all porting BTC over, which one's going to get adopted, how you deal with slippage and all that stuff, right? So I think it's a really complicated question. And yeah, Simone, do you think you have something to add there as well? Because I know you were very involved in the discussion as well last week.
Yeah, I mean, nothing in particular besides what you guys said already. Certainly, it's bridges are definitely super important, but also they take a little bit of time to do properly. So we know, we're aware that the current bridge has certain limitations, and unfortunately for now we have to work around that. But yeah, I'm very looking forward to these new multiple bridges implementations, because as you said, each bridge can have a different use case, sort of, and yeah, that's all.
Yeah, and I think
I'm sorry, Michael, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, just in between as well, just to be more concrete. Some people ask about REN specifically. If you're looking at REN, they mentioned that their multi-chain VM should be up and running end of November or in December. Not our timeline, their timeline. And I'm assuming that they would still have to integrate separate chains individually after that. So it can take a few months maybe. And I would like to give them the time. And maybe it would be a better question to also ask them and follow their news and updates. And Jacob, please go ahead.
I just wanted to react on one of the questions in the chat. If it means that actually implementing multiple bridges would delay the delivery times, and I don't think at all, because some of the bridges will be implemented by their authors, like AnySwap or REN, and it's pretty much up to them how fast they can go, and our own new take on the bridge will be the only thing that we really devote to, a lot of time to, right? So having multiple bridges will not delay the timelines as far as this is concerned.
Cool. I just showed the question on the stream, and I'm going back to our own captions because I think we've addressed the bridge part for a while. Let me just go back to question 3, which we skipped earlier. Question 3 is about, can we have the delegation amount shown as the transaction value on the TX page rather than 0.00? Let me see if I understand this question correctly. I think people want to know the fiat value of a transaction of the delegation or the amount of FTM delegated rather than 0.00. So I think it's a purely UX thing on the Explorer, right?
Yeah,
that's correct. And Jakub.
No, Simone, go ahead. I was just reading the chat. Sorry, I missed the question. I was just looking at the questions on the chat.
No, basically, yeah, what Michael said is right. Right now, the wallet and the Explorer are showing 0 when for delegations rather than showing the actual amount of delegation. So this person is asking if we can actually show the amount of the delegation rather than 0.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the account total balance is something that is not that easy to calculate as the DeFi functionalities will get more and more complex. So not only that we have now assets that are staked, but we will have assets that are used on the minter. And now just to confirm, because you guys probably saw on the GitHub working on the SFTM, which means collateralized staking. So all these things will be eventually part of the total value of the account, and calculating it is not easy, but it can be done so that every part of the DeFi is correctly projected on the account total.
Okay, no, thank you for the answer. Let me go to the next one. Next one specifically about how we're going to build out the economics of Fantom Finance. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, and what will drive users to Fantom Finance to increase TVL, right? And I think that question kind of ties into question 5 and 6, because if you want to increase TVL, well, a lot of other chains, ghost chains, they're just trying to get as many people that hold your token to utilize that token in your DeFi stack as possible. But then you get a value vacuum because you're not really drawing in any other assets or any other value from other ecosystems. It's just a circle jerk essentially. So I think the bridge is essential, right? So you can bridge in ETH-based assets, ERC20 tokens, and so forth, and actually use those in our DeFi stack. But more importantly, right, I think it's also going to be important to start positioning that DeFi stack and Fantom as a whole in a different way, right? Because if you're just going to treat it as any other layer one and not doing anything different, we're not going to get any different results either. And I think what we've been seeing lately is that layer ones, like novel layer ones, like Fantom, Cosmos, or Polkadot, could actually be pretty solid layer 2 solutions for Ethereum if you have the right bridges. I mean, like if you look at our validator set and network security, I think that's, well, stronger than most layer 2 solutions ever could be, right? Like very often you find that layer 2s are fairly permissioned, or they, don't have the same level of validator participation. Thoughts on that, Jakub, Simone?
No, absolutely. Like the assets locked on our chain obviously is an important piece, but it's important also to say what kind of assets do we want to have there, right? So we can either port assets from Ethereum or other chains where historically they have been created. So that would be the wrapped assets that we port over through the bridges. Or we actually start working with our own assets, which are the synthetics often talked about, right? So we create a collateralized system of creating synthetics and allow trading on top of them. So those are the two types of assets that we are trying to work with. And I just wanted to say, because there's a lot of questions about Funi and FLAND and so on, Funi was definitely not just a short-lived solution. It was a solution that allowed us to bring trading to Opera in a way that people were used to. That means this two-side liquidity, and we pretty much took something that was already there. Now, our own take on F-Trade, which is coming as well, would be the single-side liquidity as described by Andre in one of his papers lately. So, and can there be multiple trading platforms and trading solutions and approaches to trading? Absolutely, there should be a lot of them, right? So the Funi is the standard two-side AMM type of solution. We will be getting also other types of trading solutions, even if it was a limit order based type of solution. Whatever makes sense to make the market more efficient, eventually we will try to bring on, and we hope other people will also join us in that effort.
Thank you, Jakub.
Michael, I will add one quick thing, because this is something that we also talked with Michael Kong during the Lunar Crash podcast, and basically I think that right now we don't really have the full understanding of what a true decentralized ecosystem is like, and that means not just Fantom or just Ethereum, but an actually cross-chain ecosystem that encompasses all these different blockchains. And so, as I said, it's still too early now, but definitely positioning ourselves in a way that we can communicate and exchange assets with other chains definitely is the way to go. And it's probably going to take some time for this to happen at the global level in the blockchain space, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to go there. So we're very, very early on in these things. And as you said, Michael, of course, other blockchains or blockchains in general that don't offer cross-chain interoperability, they're not going to survive because there's no space for that.
I mean, not gonna survive is a bit radical to say, or apocalyptic almost. I would say they'll just stay ghost chains, right? Like a lot of times, like the core dev team or the foundation behind them has major packs because they raised 100 or 200 or 300 million dollars, and well, keep raising and raising, and they keep trying to buy adoption, right? And they try to throw money left and right, and try to get the least loyal developers and people who don't necessarily have much passion for building in there, just to get some transaction volume on the chain. What you get then is just gambling dApps and games. Although I do really like blockchain-based games, it's not enough, right? Like to justify such a valuation, to justify such a big war chest. I think there's a more efficient way to use that. Anyway, let me move on a little bit. We already took care of the bridge topic, but we can get back to that later when the chat asks. I want to move a little bit into different token standards, because someone asked the really good questions, like, will the PWA wallet ever support ERC-721, ERC-1155? And if it will, would there be a marketplace for them on there, right? Like OpenSea or Rarible, like, so people can actually trade those token standards as well. And obviously the answer is going to be, well, technically it's possible, right? We also use the EVM, so anything that's on Ethereum that already supports that can be repurposed for Opera. The question is, does it make sense right now? And do we want to right now? And do we want to allocate the development resources for that? And well, Jakob, you can probably chime in on that. And Simone, I know you love NFTs, so I'll let you as well. Who wants to take this one?
I think I'll let Simone first on NFTs.
Yes, so I'm a big fan of NFTs, and I think we barely scratched the surface with what we're seeing right now, with a small boom of the NFT. Even if it's big, of course, compared to what it was before, but it's still super, super small to what it could become. And so definitely I see a future where digital art is as valuable as regular art. Actually, it's a very, very similar argument as digital money and money. They will just become the same thing. And I think we're going to see the same for art in general. As for Opera and Fantom supporting NFTs, I would say yes, absolutely, because we are EVM compatible, but I'll let Jakob chime in on this.
Actually, if I may, I actually want to chime in on this, right? Because I think, for example, Simone, you have a background, I think you worked at Philips before, right? Yeah. The auction housing and so forth. And I think you run into a lot of collectors. And I worked with the VIDT guys, for example, when we authenticated that luxury watch at Amsterdam Vintage Watches here in the Netherlands. And you know what we see when you run into people who collect things, right? It isn't always for the actual tangible good, but usually it's like a rabbit hole where people go deeper and deeper and deeper just to collect for the sake of collecting, or to say, oh, I have this and you don't, or I have the best of the best and the rarest of the rarest or the rarest of the rare. I think for NFTs, that hasn't really kicked in yet, right? People haven't started just collecting for like sets. Like I think the Chats.limited guys, they had like those really cool NFTs with the chats of crypto NFTs and the versions of crypto NFTs. And you see, they are scarce for the sake of being scarce, but they are not really desirable objects yet. And you don't really have a community of collectors there yet. Because I think a lot of the people who collect are a bit older, right? I usually imagine men between 40 and 60 who are single and don't have any children, right? They haven't really made that click yet, right? That this digital good is actually, well, provably more scarce than those other goods, right? Because those other goods get tampered with and manipulated, and you can't actually check on the producer as to how much they produce. Whereas here, if you deploy a smart contract and you say there's going to be 10 tokens of this limited NFT, you can actually confirm there's only going to be 10 of them. So for digital artists, it's quite interesting, I think, to start making content strictly
it's amazing, of course. It solves all the issues of false and falsifiable art. But most importantly, I think what people still have to understand is or grasp is the digital scarcity, right? Because we grew up in a world where digital goods were not scarce. You would go on the internet, and back in the 90s, back at the beginning of 2000, you go on Napster and you download an MP3, and everyone else in the world has the same copy of the same song, right? So blockchain fundamentally changes that. It changes that initially with the definition of money. So let's take Bitcoin as an example, and it's doing the same for art. So we're going to see the same trajectory as we saw for Bitcoin. So at the beginning, not many believed in it, and not many were collecting them, and so it's just a matter of time for people to actually understand what digital scarcity is, also in the art world. And one last thing that I want to add, of course, to COVID, fast forward the process a lot, because I'm still in touch. I know a lot of people here in New York that work in the art world, and of course, with COVID, there's no art galleries, there's no art shows, there's no museums and stuff like that. So they're trying to find solutions to that problem, and the solution that they found for now is sort of digital galleries that are very, very primitive so far, because the tech is not there yet. But for sure, we're going to move in a world where art will be digital as well.
Yeah, and I think it might not be blockchain necessarily, but I think for digital galleries and so forth, we need VR, right, to actually view these things in that way, right? Because I think, for example, if you have a monitor out there, depending on the quality of your monitor, it's gonna affect your viewing experience with your NFT, with your art, and so forth.
Yeah.
So I just think maybe NFTs are still a bit too early, but it's a pretty good direction to go into.
Absolutely, and actually, now that you mentioned it, you brought a really good point. I see already a potential business of sort of, when there were the digital frames back then, back in, I don't know, 10 years ago, it was, no, maybe more, 20 years ago, it was a sort of a trend. And that might be coming back to actually showcase properly digital art. So anyway, that's just a thought that came to my mind.
Yeah, and before we go on to the next question as well, by the way, Jacob, do you still want to add something here? I have realized I cut you off there.
No, I think a lot has been said, and the time's flying. So yeah, I just want to, from a technical standpoint, I just want to confirm that it's as easy to deploy NFTs on Opera as on Ethereum, and now it's just about finding the right use case and timing it correctly. Awesome,
good. So I'm gonna go into a few chat questions, bridge questions specifically. So Michael Walker's asking another bridge question. It sounds like we're waiting for many ERC20 tokens to build their own, and he's asking if we would help them and so forth, right? And then a lot of others are also asking, are we waiting on the bridges before FLAND and FSwap is released? And well, so forth. I mean, it's a good question, right? I mean, in general, I think if you have an Ethereum to Fantom bridge, every other ERC20 token can be bridged across with that bridge, right? You don't really have to build custom bridges for separate ERC20s, I think. I'm kind of hinting, Jacob. Can you confirm?
Yes. And again, I'm trying to read through the chat, but yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to say the bridge is an absolute must, right? We already said that we are working on our own solution, as well as like bring other people to come with their own bridges. Now, once we have the bridge, or are we waiting with the rest of the Fantom Finance for the bridge? Well, yes and no. I mean, it's like a Lego, and we have to build it step by step. And I just want to address one more thing. There's a lot of discussion around FUSD price and if it's pegged correctly. And how does that work? I just want to say, obviously, if the market is not yet fully efficient, and by an efficient market, you need to have a market that is both ways. So you can not only long the asset that you don't have, you just buy it, but you can also short the asset that you don't have. And then for that, you need to be able to borrow it. And we don't have that. So the market is a little bit one way. It's also a little bit biased with regard to FTM, because a lot of the people that now hold FUSD are long-term supporters of Fantom. And so obviously their bias is rather buying. So my argument here is rather that it's not FUSD that is incorrectly valued right now. It's just that the WFTM has created some kind of market premium within our own platform, which is not totally unusual in markets, but obviously we can help it out by making the market more efficient, bring a bridge, bring arbitrage bots, bring shorting and lending. And those are the things that will definitely stabilize the price of WFTM. But for anybody out there, the FUSD is a SIG that is backed by a pretty high collateral, which is minimum 3 times, most likely 5 times to get rewards. So I'm not worried about its price at all. It's just about making the price of WFTM be projected correctly.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Thank you for the insight there. I think we can also compare a little bit with DAI on Ethereum, right? For example, on Ethereum, when you look ETH in the vault and you mint DAI, right? And DAI goes, well, you take your DAI, you buy another asset like wrapped BTC or whatsoever. And now if DAI goes below $1, right, everyone starts buying up the DAI to pay off their debt in ETH, right? But in this case, because FUSD doesn't have other utility yet, people aren't really exiting their FUSD other than into more FTM. And well, when it goes below $1, like people don't really see the urge to buy it and unlock their FTM. I think it's due to the lack of utility for now. And well, basically, most importantly, it's going to be well, the bridges, but also the other native functionality like FLend and FTrade and so forth.
Actually, I am pretty happy and surprised how well the open market is holding the price of WFTM within, let's say, a 20% range above its, let's say, Binance value. And it's a good sign because the real market is working. It's not working perfectly, but it's working, and the premium has been pretty stable. So, I mean, do we have a way to bring our own arbitrage bots? Absolutely. But are we more happy if the market does it on its own? I think that's also quite clear.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Ethereum as well, right? I doubt that the MakerDAO and like the MakerDAO governance council is actively, well, deploying treasury funds to stabilize DAI price, right? Because it's not sustainable for them, right? Because obviously, if they're going to do that, well, if you compare the size of the treasury to the actual TVL and the AUM of DAI, that's a surefire way to go to zero within, like in terms of treasury funds, within no time. So I think a lot of efforts there were made by a lot of external developers. For example, Andre at the time had like the Operation Saving DAI, I think, or Repack DAI. And a lot of other people are building insurance products and so forth. And I really do think that's going to be necessary on our ecosystem as well in the future, but maybe a little bit farther off. Okay.
And just as a side note, we do have an RBot on a standby, and we are supporting the correct pricing of FUSD WFTM pair at the beginning, so that people can bring liquidity at fair pricing at the beginning. And after that, we are slowly releasing the RBot, letting it for the market, and we'll see how it goes. I really believe the right way is to bring the right tools so that the market is efficient, rather than supplementing the functionalities of the market with company or foundation funds.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jacob. Let me see. Question 9 I actually really like, so I'm gonna go here. Question 9 is about the roadmap prioritization, not timing necessarily, right? Because we had this really, really big roadmap that Michael Kong, Kwan, and Egor wrote out, which is basically I think if I looked at the stats on the article, only 20% of the people actually made it to the end of the article and read the entire roadmap. But yeah, so where is the priority on our roadmap, right? Because I think we've been focusing on FLAND, FTrade, FUni, and so forth for the past few months. And I think now we're starting to talk more and more about bridges, right? But there's also other tasks in the roadmap, right? Like Fantom virtual machine, consensus upgrades, and so forth. Jacob, can you give us a little bit of an idea of how our different developing teams work together? Like, for example, Quan and Agor, and you on your side with the Go Fantom guys, and where the focus is per team a little bit.
Yeah, I think ever since we joined the team, the situation has changed a little bit. But in general, there are two main teams. One of them is working on the core blockchain, and that is Quan, Igor, and people around them. And the other team that is built around Go Fantom right now, and we are hiring more people there as well, is rather the community related stuff, and also the Fantom finance and smart contract solidity type of work. So there are two major teams right now. I hope in the future we can have more, but type of cooperation or coordination has turned out to be quite successful so far. So we focus on one thing, the core blockchain team can focus on their thing, and we are pretty efficient in that.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, fantastic.
And regarding the prioritization, can we maybe elaborate a little bit more on what's coming first and something else? We know already that the Fantom virtual machine will take some time because it's a quite complex thing. But what about Fantom finance or the rest of FUni or that kind of stuff? So which one comes first in a way?
Michael, you or me?
You're building it, so I will give you the honor.
Okay, so the Fantom finance is something that has an absolute priority right now on our side, but the, let's say, the order of pieces that we are rolling out depends on the situation. So the FUni was kind of something that we didn't plan originally, but eventually stepped in so that we can bring something before the single site liquidity type of trading is also available. But if I was gonna do like step by right now, so it's definitely the bridge, it's potentially the collateralized staking, then it would be the FLAND, and the last piece would be the FTrade. Now, around the keeper that we already talked about, there's a lot of things that have been developed by Andre on the ETH side, and we want to bring a lot of that to Fantom Finance as well, and none of that has been yet described as part of our roadmap. So that's kind of for our part. As far as the new virtual machine and the work of the backend team, I think lately they have had a big success with improving the transaction speed. As far as the VM is concerned, that's still a limiting factor, and I know that the University of Sydney has been working on it, and now we might have the university on board that might step in. So that's as far as the VM goes. And obviously we have also the SFC contract, which is in the core of the whole staking system. So we might be coming with a new version of the SFC so that it's kind of more geared towards the complex finance operations that we are releasing right now. So on the backend side, the EVM, the speed of the blockchain, and also the new SFC contract.
Cool. Thank you. I think that's a really elaborate answer to the question. And if anyone has any further questions, we can take it from the chat as well. Let me just finish up the other few questions because we've already been running for 46 minutes. And I think we don't want to drag this on too long because people also have to go back to work and so forth. So let me go to question 10. Which is actually NFT related again, but not about infrastructure this time, right? Because last time we spoke about it was about, whether we could support the standards and whether we could support the protocols. But how do you think we'll actually benefit from the growth of NFTs, right? Because to be honest with you, I own some NFTs on ETH, and I think ETH works kind of well for NFTs, because I don't find NFTs to be like a high volume or a high frequency kind of application where everything has to be happening within a second and where everything has to go fast, right? Because when I buy something, I buy it for a longer term, you know what I mean? So kind of interesting to see where you guys think NFTs can be utilized in this sense. And also maybe use cases outside of collectability, right? Like the VID guys, they are associating proof of authenticity together with NFTs. And then I think for example, I don't know what I was going to say. Anyways, what do you guys think?
Yeah, so NFT right now, when we refer to NFTs, it's mostly digital art. But the NFT realm is much more, the possibilities are much wider than just art. So it can be used for insurance, for example, or anything that needs to be scarce and also immutable. So definitely, so you have a point saying that for art, it's really not, Ethereum works very well for that. You don't trade frequently digital art at all. The only potential advantage that Fantom has on Ethereum is, of course, the fee cost and the transaction speed. So on Ethereum, to buy digital art, you still have to spend a couple of dollars, depending on the network congestion. And on Fantom, it would be just, I don't know, a fraction of a cent, and you would have it in a couple of seconds. But yes, it's not fundamental for digital art. For other types of NFTs, maybe it has a more tangible advantage. I haven't put too much thought into it, of course, yet.
Okay. Jakob, do you want to add anything on this question?
Well, again, from a technical standpoint, if you guys have time, read one of the latest posts by Andre, how to use NFTs actually to build the smart contract system a little bit more efficiently, and it's an interesting one. So that there's not just that part of utilizing the NFT, but also within the programming side of things. But yeah, I think that's kind of for different discussion eventually.
Okay. No, thank you very much. So let me look through the chat to see if there's anything that we haven't addressed yet, and to see what else we could address. Because also I'm going to go to the bonus question, and I know it's going to be very controversial. But what do you guys do for fun when you're not working on FTM? Like, I'm not sure if you're allowed to have fun. I'm not sure if you guys have any hobbies at all. It was a question that was asked 3 times actually on Twitter, and I figured we should just add it.
Yeah, you do climbing, right, Michael?
Yeah, climbing, running.
Yeah.
Is that really fun? I think it's more about not becoming a complete, how do I say, vegetable, right? And being in my chair all day and not going outside and sitting here in the dark with malnutrition. Like, I don't really think it's...
Yeah. I mean, I used to be a sports guy. I used to play baseball and then did a lot of windsurfing and kite surfing and sailing. But lately, it's mostly family. I've got kids, and that takes all my time. And it's actually fun. So, kids. The next level, Michael.
Yeah, thank you.
Simone?
I think Simone is talking on mute.
Yes, I was talking on mute. So I was saying that I just read a lot. I like reading. I'm very curious. I'm very curious to learn of things that I don't know or things that I don't necessarily agree with. So yeah, that's one of the main things that I do. Besides that, I also make music. I don't have much time to do that now because it takes quite some time, and crypto, Fantom, and crypto in general takes most of my days anyway. But yeah, that's what I do.
I didn't know that, Simone. We have a blues band, so maybe we can jam one of these days.
Oh, nice! I didn't know that. Yeah.
Like I was having a conversation with a validator node yesterday, right? And he said, well, he was an IT specialist in his daily job, and crypto was his thing on the side, right? And I said, well, crypto is our job. So, and crypto is also our hobby. We live and breathe this entire space, and basically, there's nothing else than Fantom and blockchain and looking at Bitcoin all day.
There was actually a question in the chat.
Doing good.
From Crypto Sphinx, I read it a while ago. He was asking if we got a sudden increase of users, would Fantom support that?
Wait, come again? I'm looking for the question.
It was maybe 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago.
Give me the timestamp.
Yeah, but I can't scroll. I can't scroll on my side. So.
Okay, so but the Crypto Sphinx.
He was asking if Fantom Finance would have a 10x increase of users, how would the network behave? Pretty much. That's kind of the question that he was asking.
It would behave as it does already right now, from my understanding. I mean, I don't want to brag. I don't want to be an ass, but
no.
Yeah,
but
like that's it. It would be the exact same.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring up the question. It's a very, very good question, and I think right now the network is very underutilized, and we cannot really see the benefits of Lachesis. We see it, of course, with in terms of speed and costs, but those characteristics will be there also in with 10x increase in users on the network. What do you think, Jakob? Do you have anything to add about that?
Well, actually, not really. I think that the fact that the network is underutilized is clear. It's obvious, but we are getting there. We are getting much more transactions lately that are related to Fantom Finance, and I don't think we are nearly close to what the limits of the network are.
Yep. Awesome.
Else we could start over, right? Like all the work we did in the last 2.5 years. Like what for? If we're gonna like crack after like a small 10-time increase in users.
Yeah.
Like,
well, to add to that, actually, we're always actively working on improving, even if we didn't reach any sort of limit yet. But if you guys remember, last week Quan wrote a short article about their
hey, you still there, Simone? Hey, Jakob, you still there? Does it work now?
Yeah. I just started losing Simone, and now I'm back on.
Well, at least we have each other.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe it was my connection. I'm not sure because I'm hosting. But anyhow, yeah.
I guess I just wanted to add one more thing to the TPS and like to the topic that we talked about before. I think the very most interesting thing about Fantom is the time to finality. And I don't think we talk enough about that, how important that is for like real life applications. Because the users actually don't care about the TPS. They don't care what's happening on the network on the behind. The only thing they really care about is how fast their transaction is settled. And that is something where Fantom has such a big edge over other blockchains and consensuses out there, in my opinion. So that's why we were so excited to join, and I still feel that to be our biggest advantage, the time to finality, allowing to do pretty much real-time transactions, including paying in the stores or settlement of trades.
No, fantastic. Thank you for the answer. I think Simone's connection is out. And I think we're hitting the 1 hour mark. So I think it's a pretty good point to start wrapping this up. So want to thank everyone who joined us today. If you liked it, just let us know, and we'll keep doing this instead of the Discord AMAs. And Jakob, thank you so much for making the time today. And look forward to next time.
And thank you very much to everyone for hanging with us here.
Yeah. So yeah, cheers, guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.